You know exactly what you need to do. You have known for a while now. Wake up earlier. Train consistently. Start the thing you keep postponing. The knowledge is not the problem. You could write the plan in your sleep. And yet here you are, again, at the end of another day where the plan existed and the action did not. So you tell yourself tomorrow, Monday, after things settle down a little. And tomorrow comes, and Monday comes, and the action still does not arrive with them. The goal stops feeling exciting and starts feeling like evidence of something wrong with you. Why can other people just do the thing? Why is this so effortless for some and so impossible for me? If that frustration lives somewhere familiar, this video is going to reframe everything you think you know about it. The answer is not that you are lazy. It is not that you lack discipline or willpower or desire. The answer is that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that design is working against you. Today we are talking about why you know exactly what to do and still cannot consistently make yourself do it. The brain does not make decisions based on what is good for you long term. That is a common misconception. It makes decisions based on what feels safest, most familiar, and least energetically costly right now. This is not a character flaw. It is an evolutionary feature that kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. The brain that conserved energy survived. The brain that chose the known survived. That brain is yours. Neuroscientists call this the principle of least effort. The brain defaults to the lowest energy path available. The habits you already have, however unhelpful, are neurologically cheaper than the ones you are trying to build. A new behavior requires the prefrontal cortex to override automatic systems. That costs energy the brain resists spending. An existing habit runs on pathways reinforced thousands of times. It requires almost no effort at all. So when you face that moment of decision, you are not just choosing between the gym and the couch. You are asking your brain to spend significant neurological resources to override a deeply established alternative. And the brain will always look for a reason to take the cheaper option unless something else intervenes. Now let's talk about willpower, because this is where most people's entire strategy falls completely apart. Willpower is real, but it is a depletable resource. It runs out faster than most people realize. Research by Roy Baumeister showed that self-control draws on a limited cognitive resource that exhausts with use. Every decision throughout the day draws from the same finite pool of self-regulatory capacity in the brain. Every temptation resisted, every impulse overridden, every harder choice depletes that pool slightly each time. The person relying on willpower alone is fighting a battle they are biologically designed to eventually lose. By evening, the willpower tank is almost always running close to empty, and the brain defaults to the familiar. This is why people are most consistent in the morning and most likely to abandon everything by evening. It is not weakness. It is neurological depletion, operating exactly as research predicts under those conditions. If willpower is the entire strategy, failure is not a personal flaw. It is a predictable outcome built into the approach. Now let's talk about something deeper that keeps people locked in the gap between knowing and doing. The version of yourself you are trying to become is not just a different set of behaviors, it is a different identity. And identity change is one of the most psychologically uncomfortable processes a human being can undertake. Your current identity, however unsatisfying, is familiar, predictable, neurologically safe to inhabit every day. The brain has spent years building a coherent story about who you are and how you behave in the world. Every time you try to act like the new version of yourself, the old identity pushes back hard, often successfully. Psychologists call this identity behavior consistency. The brain is motivated to behave in ways that confirm its self-concept. If your self-concept says, "I am not someone who trains consistently," acting like you do creates internal conflict. And the brain resolves that conflict by reverting to the behavior that matches the identity rather than changing the identity. Which is why the goal cannot just be to do the new behavior. It has to be to become the person who does it naturally. Those are two completely different targets. Most people spend years aiming at the first, while the second stays untouched. Let's talk about the role of emotion, because this is what almost every discipline framework leaves out entirely. Knowing what to do is cognitive. Actually doing it consistently is emotional. They operate through different systems. The part of your brain that knows the plan and the part that generates motivation to execute it are not the same part. You can have complete clarity about what needs to happen while your emotional system generates zero drive to begin. And in the competition between intellectual knowledge and emotional state, Emotional state wins the behavioral vote. This is why you can genuinely want something, clearly know how to get it, and still do something else instead. Now let's talk about what research actually shows about how people successfully change behavior over time. The first thing that predicts success is environment design rather than personal determination in moments of decision. People who build new habits do not rely on being more motivated than everyone else when the critical moment arrives. They remove the decision from the moment entirely by engineering their environment so the desired behavior becomes default. Workout clothes, laid out the night before, phone left in another room, friction removed before the decision point arrives. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg found that behavior change is primarily a design problem, not a motivation problem. Make the desired behavior easier and the unwanted behavior harder, and the brain's default pathway begins to shift. The second thing that predicts success is starting so small that the brain does not register it as a threat. The instinct when trying to change is to go big, overhaul everything, commit fully, make the transformation complete. That instinct is almost always counterproductive, because big changes trigger big resistance from identity-protecting systems. A 2-minute version of the habit you want to build creates almost zero resistance, and it builds the pathway anyway. 2 minutes of movement, 1 page of reading, 1 glass of water before anything else in the morning. The brain does not care how small the action is, it cares about repetition. Repetition builds the automatic pathway. The third thing is identity-based framing. Shifting from I am trying to do this to I am someone who does this, not as a lie, as a direction you are actively moving toward with every small action you take each day. Every time you do the small version of the habit, you cast a vote for the identity of the person who does it naturally. Identity is built through accumulated votes, not through one dramatic decision made on a Monday with high motivation. Let's talk about consistency, specifically because this is where most people collapse after a genuinely strong start. Consistency is not about doing the thing perfectly every day. That expectation guarantees eventual failure and guilt. Consistency is about never missing twice. 1 missed day is an accident. 2 missed days is the beginning of a new habit. The person who trains imperfectly for a year beats the person who trains perfectly for 3 weeks every single time. Progress is not linear. The brain builds capability through repetition, not through intensity of individual sessions. Showing up on the days when it feels pointless is not wasted effort. It is the most important effort you will make. Now here is something the productivity world almost never says honestly, because it is uncomfortable to acknowledge. Some resistance to action is not laziness or fear, it is grief for the old version of yourself being left behind. Becoming the disciplined version of yourself means the undisciplined version stops existing. That is a real loss. The late nights, the freedom from the schedule, the permission to choose comfort. That version had things worth grieving. Acknowledging that grief does not make you weak, it makes the change real and sustainable instead of brittle. You cannot fully step into a new version of yourself while secretly mourning the old one. Both things require attention. The gap between knowing and doing is not a character flaw. It is a design challenge, and now you know what it actually takes to close it. Subscribe if this finally explains something you have been frustrated about for far too long.